Hi, I'm Rigger. This is Your Right, and today let's do something really different. Before that though, be sure to like the video if you like it, share it if you think others would like it, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and subscribe if you want to see more. Also, quick shout out if you missed it. Yesterday I released part 2 of my new series RWBY runs, running through the RWBY plot under what if scenarios. This first run is what if Jean died instead of Pyro. Check it out, it's pretty dope, and it'll be linked in the end card of this video as well. Now, what I want to do with this video isn't some big plot theory or something, because this is all kind of self-explanatory. Everyone around here who knows my stuff has seen me talk a lot about the game dropping into Alice in Wonderland. There's been lots of references, and it just seems like that's what's happening. Because of that, I then talked about what characters we have sort of in the living world might equate to some Alice in Wonderland characters. But because they're dropping into, a space between spaces, a place between realms, this pocket dimension, and people have talked about, and I've thought about, everyone has, that it could be afterlife related as well. Because that's sort of where we saw Ozma and those sort of things. So if it is that, we're putting in elements of the afterlife, or I've seen people mention Hades, or any underworld, or, afterlife area you're familiar with, what would we see? Or more importantly, who would we see? And if we're taking an Alice in Wonderland stint, we sort of go down that logical path. So no, this isn't about actual zombies, but about seeing dead characters again. I was going to make this video anyway, but people even talked about it in my comments. They've mentioned this idea. So yeah, let's do it. But rather than it being a very clashing ideas like, a serious character in a non-serious role, let's instead try and match some personalities or inspirations as best as we can to some existing Alice in Wonderland characters. So that's what we'll do. We'll take characters from Alice in Wonderland, and as best we can find matches for them throughout our dead characters in RWBY. However, a few little details. I'm also going to add in maybe some suggestions from the lesser important characters that could still die or be dead. If there's someone off-screen for a while now who could have died, or if there's someone in this finale who might be in chance of dying, then we can also include them as fun options. Oh, Rigo, why didn't you just wait till after the finale so you know who's dead? Because this is fun. We're just doing this now. Who cares? Oh, also, I'm going to put in some characters from Through the Looking Glass as well, just to get all the Wonderland sort of characters in we can. So, yeah. So for now, we'll take a look at some major characters from Alice in Wonderland. And also, I don't think Alice counts, by the way. Our characters are Alice. I actually think Penny is Alice, but we're the normal ones falling in. So yeah, no Alice. First up, the Mad Hatter. It's Roman. It just has to be Roman. There's only one choice, and it's Roman. Some people aren't as familiar with all these characters. I'm not an expert on all of them, but I'll put in what's relevant if it comes to mind. But yeah, he's a short, little, crazy, and impolite character who enjoys annoying Alice. Now, Roman's not short, but he's literally everything else. He would love to annoy Alice / the protagonists. He has an iconic hat. He's charismatic, which is a big thing for the Hatter. He's a very charismatic character, that's why he keeps coming up. So yeah, it's Torchwick. It just has to be. Unfortunately, the rest of the Tea Party isn't seriously as defined or important. They always just go along. They always just appear alongside the Hatter. So I don't know. But next up is the March Hare. Again, not as many details. The March Hare just also really likes annoying Alice and could really be anybody. They're unpredictable in their behavior, but that's sort of about it. But my pick for this would be, obviously, if she were to die, it's Harriet. Come on, it's perfect. They're unpredictable, sort of one a bit crazy, is also an antagonist. Making the Tea Party like a round table of former villains is also a really good idea, I think. That's really fun that this Tea Party, which is central to the Alice in Wonderland plot that you come across, they're all people who annoy Alice, but they all do help in the end, so it's like this afterlife where all the villains sort of have sat around and are getting along. That could be cool. I like that idea a lot. But my other answer, if Harriet isn't dead, another villain who isn't really talked about but could go here as an antagonist, who maybe has, wants to relax in the afterlife, is Fennec Albane. Not really talked about much at all, but it'd be a good face to see at the table, but who doesn't get much mention otherwise. You could also make it Adam, I know, but I think it's too much of a small role for him. Next up, the Dormouse. The Dormouse equally lacks a good pick from the people we know. They're sleepy and say nonsense and get angry a bit, that's about it. I'm trying to think who in our dead cast we could call sleepy or foggy or talking nonsense. The sad answer is Freya, but they're not an enemy at all, obviously, and they were suffering mental degeneration. I would have liked to think that the idea is they don't still suffer from that in the afterlife, but if this was like a weird afterlife where things still sort of were being worked out or characters aren't really who they are, they're just sort of like figments, it could fit. It's pretty sad though. Another pick for this, who also isn't a true antagonist, was just someone annoying, but it's Dee from Dee and Dudley on the train, which is weird because they're already Alice in Wonderland characters. Those two are the twins, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but they're not both dead, so you couldn't slot them both back in as Tweedledee and Tweedledum. So you could equate them to sleepy and unobservant, because they're kind of stupid. But yeah, the other one isn't dead as far as we know, so maybe you could slot them into the single role. It's really random. But if we were to throw out the window the idea of inspirations, if we just wanted a great round table of henchmen, the Hatter is Torchwick, Hare is Harriet, or Adam, I guess, but I think Harriet's better, and the Dormouse is Tock. Yeah, nothing to do with being the Dormouse, it's just an awesome round table of antagonists, because the Hatter's gotta be Torchwick, and, you know, you could make the Hare, Fennec, or Harriet, but Harriet's better, and Tock. Roman, Harriet, Tock. That's a great trio to have to try and talk to. Also, we got to throw in another character here is the White Rabbit. Concerned with time, we meet them running, we follow them. Pretty important character, or at least recognizable character, but I was trying to think who fits this role. And if we're doing antagonists that lead to the Tea Party, then a freshly dead businessman is who I'd put here as the White Rabbit, Jacques Schnee. Freshly dead, so we meet them early, and also this could be a really good way for Weiss to learn and come to terms with the fact that he's now dead. Definitely fits the antagonist role, so you could do a lot with this. I think this is a good pick. For general White Rabbit characters, or White-themed characters who aren't him, I'd actually go for the other Schnee, Nicholas Schnee. That also works. He's, moved around the world, and he went on adventures and stuff. That could also fit here, so that's another good pick. But moving on, the Shashia Cat. Now, the Shashia Cat has a crazy smile, appears where it wants to, and is really cool. In the story, it functionally is untouchable, like no one can harm it, and as such, it's not threatened by anything. It knows how things work down here through Wonderland. I hate to say it, but my first pick falls back on the faunus animal gimmick, and it's Sienna Khan. An amazing design we didn't see enough of. It'd be great to see her being cool and untouchable, and as a guide, it would just be really sweet. Though, there is a far more heartbreaking option that I really like. A cool cat with crazy colors, big smile, very mobile, goes wherever it wants to. You could use this appearance of the Shashia Cat to reveal that Neon is dead. As much as I want to see Sienna Khan, that's my pick to make this weighty and sad. She died out there on the battlefield, and this is how we find out. I think that's really cool for plot. And that leads into my next pick, because next up is the Caterpillar. The Caterpillar sits around smoking a hookah, it's cool and relaxed. He's a bit rude, but he plays the role of an oracle. A lot of the time in pop culture he's portrayed a lot like a stoner sort of gimmick. My pick for this one is the other sad option that goes with Neon, Flint. He's cool, relaxed, was initially rude. Yeah, it all fits. Again, a way to tell us Funky died out there on the battlefield, and his cool, jazzy demeanor fits perfectly for the more relaxed version. Although another pick I have here for a, annoying but sort of even-tempered oracle type is Vine, if he were to die. And my last pick, because he was just, we don't know anything about him, but he liked books, and he had a cool voice, and he would be a fun person to appear, but we don't know, is Tuxin, just because, why not? He's in the dead cast, we can mention him. Though I think he's too small to play a role like this, but there isn't really a good person to fit the Caterpillar so far. Next up, we'll do those twins, although, from the other book, it's from Through the Looking Glass, but we'll do Tweedledee and Tweedledum. They're basically sort of dumb twins. They don't contradict each other, they have things about them, but that's essentially what they are. They're interesting, and is trying to make a pair with RWBY characters also interesting. As far as dead, I have no idea. I want to put in the other two from Funky here, so they get some lines and something to do, and just imply that all of Team Funky died out there. The other real obvious pick is the Malachite Twins, and say that they died. I could buy that, they live gangster lifestyles, they could be dead. It'd be kind of fun to see them again. Another one is sort of half-dead pair, like if the other one is to die in this escape from Atlas, and that would be putting Sleet and Camilla here. They're not dumb, in fact they're the opposite, which is could be the joke. But they go together as a pair, and they're sort of side characters, so we could slot them in here. Other than that, I'm really struggling to think of pairs I'd put here. I want to say Oobleck and Port, but they're not dead. And Port would really fit, because a lot of the time Dee and Dum are very fat sort of characters, but no, I don't know who else goes here. And like I said, the characters that this actually were based off, like Dee is dead, but the other one isn't, so. But since my other picks were all people that are alive, you could also say that Dudley has since died, and put them both here in their actual inspirational roles. One more cool pair that could go here, and they're not dumb or anything, but if you want to pair side by side, disregarding the genders and stuff, Hazel and Gretchen reunited. Yeah, that one's a good one. And for a lack of better pairs, I think that's my pick. That's really solid, as like, just a fun way to see them. Now, since we're talking about Through the Looking Glass, we'll do a bunch of chess pieces. The Red Knight. Adam is a great pick, fits pretty perfect. Antagonist, red, fighter, yep. But also maybe too small of a role for him. This could also be Fennec again, really good pick for this. Antagonist, more minor, red in design, it's also pretty good. The White Knight, I have a couple picks. Clover, Rhodes, both good people, good fighters, with good intentions. Neither are inventors though, which leads to the other sad pick if he were to be dead, and that's Pietro. Because in the story, the White Knight rescues Alice, aka Penny, or just the protagonist in general. He rescues them from the Red Knight. So the, inventor White Knight rescues the Alice equivalent, so the inventor Pietro rescues his daughter Alice. That could be really heartbreaking and sad, but a big meaningful reunion. I think that's a really good pick. Also, I'd like to say he wasn't in a wheelchair in the afterlife just because, you'd hope that all their existences were, like, perfect, but if he did still have it, if that was how he, saw himself, or it's just, pulled from the image of him, then it could be his horse, so that makes sense. Next up is the Red King, and you want to say Adam because that sounds like an Adam thing, right? The Red King. But the Red King is actually useless and asleep, so I'd say perhaps it might be Leo. Leo could be a fun pick for this one. Still spineless, asleep in that he's not doing anything. The Red Queen. Different from the Queen of Hearts, by the way, those are two different characters. You want to say Pyrrha because Red and Queen, but the Red Queen is an antagonist, bad guy. So this could also be Sienna if she took up like a more militant role, or this could also be Tok. Violent, militant, but not like, the worst person in the world or anything. Well, maybe Tok, you might think that is, but it'd be a good spot for it, it'd be fun. But I don't know if we'll get the Red Queen and the Queen of Hearts, I feel like they'd be doubling up, so we'll talk about the Queen of Hearts when we get to her, but it might be more her than the Red Queen. But we know RWBY loves its chess analogies, so that's why I'm putting all these pieces in here as well. And the white side of the board are very important and could be a lot of people, so let's do that. The White King. Super important, but not super involved. I'd possibly give this one over to Hazel. He did his part, now he's fighting for good on the other side. I think it's a really strong option. But also, if we disregard the implied sex of the piece with King, you could also make this Summer. White, talks to them a lot, but is not an involved character like in the fight sort of thing. Fits very perfectly in the role of how Alice interacts with them. So, also a strong pick. But here's the big one, the reason you have to include the chess pieces. The White Queen. And of course it's Pyrrha. The good queen and warrior we all interact with and love. This is where you play the Pyrrha role. I know also here you want to say Summer. It's also a strong choice and not wrong, but I think Pyrrha is the go here. It's good either way, but yeah, it's gotta be Pyrrha, and I'd put Summer, if you wanted her in a good guy role, into the King instead. Pawns aren't actually really mentioned much, but outside of, the realm of what's sort of in the story, but you want to see them around, you can fit antagonists and side characters around here as you see fit. Like, Team Bronze are dead, so I'd put them in here as good guys fighting for good still. Like, that'd be a good thing for them. To be like, yeah, they're still doing good on the other side. Cameos. But now, big one. The Queen of Hearts. Big antagonist. Again, commonly conflated with the Red Queen, and maybe here as well. The candidates are kind of the same. I could really see this one being Adam, though. Take the Queen bit out. He sounds like the type for murder. This is another good opportunity for Tok as well, but the Queen of Hearts screams for beheadings and, keeps things in order and is sort of childish as well. A lot of that fits how Adam's mindset was. So, violent and stuck in their ways, but also selfish. I think Adam as the Red Queen, in that role, could be really cool. Another fun one is the character of the Griffin. The Griffin is helpful but dismissive. Because Griffin's a part lion, you could also put Leo here. Another option here is this one could be Hazel. You could help the cast again, but sort of as an outside member. And again, Clover also fits here too. One last one I think would be also really cool, especially for Weiss, is if this one was Nicholas Schnee, because then you have, you meet both Nick and Jacques, and you sort of get introduced to Jacques, but then you find this other helpful character who takes them place to place, and it's Nick. That could be really cool. So Nick Schnee is one of my picks for this one for sure. But then there's who the Griffin takes them to, the Mock Turtle, and I think this one's really good. The Mock Turtle isn't really a turtle, or it's sort of half, it's got the head of a calf, like it's a weird character. But here's where you could be really cool and put in the mentioned Tortuga, the tortoise from Tortoise and the Hare, the missing Aesop. Yeah, that would be cool. Also, the Mock Turtle is very sentimental and self-absorbed, which could be really fun, given the attitude we've seen from the Aesops and what they've pretended to be as well. So, I think that's the pick here. Then there is the Duchess, the Queen's ugly cousin, who's just sort of around. I don't think anyone classifies as ugly, but if you want a side antagonist, or someone who was a side antagonist who sort of plays that henchman role a bit, but could sort of just be off to the side in the court, in like the red, faction, I'd actually pick Vanal. I think that would be fun. Not that I think she's a bad person at all, but I just think that would be a fun spot for her to fill. So, yeah, and it'd be fun to see her again, obviously. We're actually starting to run out of major characters now. The Red Knave is another main character in the court, aside to the Red Queen, who could be the man who was the Hound. I think that's an interesting pick. A more motivated and militant form of him, who's reasonably upset by how he died, but is put upon by oppressors still, which would be Adam as the Queen. Kind of in that same role again, but not a monster. Other picks are again Clover and Rhodes, both fit that sort of hierarchy position just under someone in charge, but both are good guys and well-intentioned, and this might be too villainous for them. We also don't have a mouse. The mouse is the first character that Alice encounters in Wonderland, sort of directs her to get started. I have a fun pick here. A more scared, talkative person who directs Alice to what's happening around here. I pick Forrest. Yeah, he introed them to Mantle, now he can again intro them to Wonderland. And I think that's a really good pick for a fun little cameo. But we're pretty much out of characters now. There's things that are mentioned, like the dodo and stuff, but they're not really characters. But there's two more things I want to mention. One, the Bandersnatch, an aggressive monster in Wonderland. An auto-aggressive monster. This could also be the Hound, if it's still wrapped in a reality where it hasn't been resolved yet. That could be cool, a chance to free him from his nightmare. Sad to think he's still trapped in it in the afterlife, but this could be a good relation to the idea that, they can solve things on the other side. And the only reason I bring that up is because it leads into my next one that I've talked about before, but I'm going to talk about again. The Jabberwocky, a basically mythical beast of Wonderland. The, big evil. It's talked about in a poem. But, like I said before, this is where I would put Summer. If this Wonderland is sort of the afterlife, but not really, it's sort of like a reality formed from the afterlife, or people from it, or maybe what your ideas of them are, so people can get some closure and, do things, but it's not technically their actual afterlife. This is where I'd put Summer because it's so good. Still a grim monster, is what I mean here, but our heroes can free her. The Hound as the Bandersnatch would basically be the practice run, and then Summer as the Jabberwocky is the real run. The human big bad boss would probably be Adam as the Red Queen, but the monster is Summer as the Jabberwocky, in still her grim form. Otherwise, you could put Adam in this role, I guess, but yeah, it's so much better if it's Summer, it's just so cool. As I pointed out, in the description of the Jabberwocky in the poem, it describes it having eyes of flame, although that could be metaphorical, eyes, burning and hatred or whatever, but it still says eyes of flame. So maidens can also fit here. That's why I said Cinder could be filling this role if it was people that are still alive. I don't think Cinder's going to die in the finale and reappear as the Jabberwocky. Could happen. Don't think so. Seems like a waste. But I will put her on this list just in case it happens. So yes, Cinder is a candidate. Eyes of Flame, monster, yeah. But I wanted to point out for the Summer thing, you could also say that Silver Eyes count as Eyes of Flame. They're not literally on fire, but they do burn things. They do burn Grimm away. So that could be cool, as an interpretation. Otherwise, outside of that, we're lacking dead super bad guys to put here. My thoughts obviously went to stuff like Kevin, but I don't think Grimm go to the afterlife. They, by definition, don't have a soul, so, that about wraps it all up. There's some honorable mentions of people, though. The Thirsty Mums should be somewhere. Maybe a crowd in the Red Castle, sort of courtly people around the Red Queen's court, just as onlookers. The Card Soldiers could also appear, if we say that these door guards got killed in the attack on Argus, since that is what they're based off. It would be really nice to see Amber again, but, it's not really an Alice in Wonderland reference, I just think it would be cool to see her and have her talk, or maybe have her meet Cinder even. That could be interesting. That's sort of only people who get pops from the fans, I think. Atlas Pilot is a meme, but I don't know where he'd go. Ren's parents would be nice to see, though I hope they're not stuck in combat still in the war. I hope they're just having a nice time. But I don't have a role for them in Alice in Wonderland. But it's more, like I said, a general afterlife thing rather than fitting into the Alice story. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much everyone. If I missed some characters, please, put them down below in the comments, and also discuss your picks for these characters if you have different ones. Please discuss. It's a fun thing to do to sort of fit them into other roles. I'm no expert on the Alice story too, so I might be misremembering a few details. If so, whatever, this is just a fun video. But of course, put them down in the comments who you think should go where and why, what part of their design and their character or their name or their influence could pair them up with a good Alice in Wonderland character. So yeah, discuss and have some fun. But I think that's all for now. Until next time, my name is Rigger. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope I did alright.